Good evening, everyone. You welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. In our top stories, a collapsing three-floor story building in the Lokbesu neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision has instilled the fear in the hearts of occupants and surrounding locals. Most of the occupants of this three-floor story building have evacuated to their properties. Meantime, owner of the building is planning its demolition as soon as possible. We equally talk about healthcare delivery in the restive northwest region of the country that remains complicated, challenging to health personnel as well as the population who visit health facilities for one reason or the other. Mustela will be painting a case of a locality where healthcare delivery remains challenging as a result of hostilities masterminded by belligerents of the armed conflict. We also talk about President Buhari, that's Muhammadu Buhari of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who says his country Nigeria will never support separatist agitation in Cameroon, but starts to support the government of President Paul Biya to ensure a peaceful, stable, and indivisible Cameroon, because both countries share similar historic ties, common borders, and same challenges like the Boko Haram hostilities. Those were our top stories. Good evening once again. Thanks for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, where we're broadcasting live from the nation's economic capital, Douala. We begin here in Douala to talk about a collapsing three-floor story building in the Lokbesu neighborhood stars in the Douala 5 subdivision that has instilled fear in the hearts of occupants and surrounding locals. Most of the occupants of this collapsing three-floor story building have escaped to their properties. Meantime, the owner of the collapsing structure has promised its demolition as soon as possible. Details with Immaculate Fogri.
A three-floor story building at the Lokbesu neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision at the verge of collapsing. The building, which is now leaning on another building, has instilled an atmosphere of fear in the minds of occupants.
We are not aware of this. Yeah, because of the incident that just happened because of the heavy rain. You know, we were sitting in the house and we just heard something like a building trying to collapse.
The incident, which occurred over the weekend, has forced several occupants to evacuate the site. Others have even abandoned their household equipment.
We are unsafe now, so we have to try and look for a way to maybe relocate somewhere. I have not heard from him yet, but he has not ordered us to go out. But we are just doing this because we are scared of what might happen. We are not safe because it's just so sudden. Maybe he's also thinking what to do about it.
On the site, close to 10 builders are seen. Their objective is to dismantle the entire building so another structure could be built. I am very scared walking here, but I have no choice because there are no jobs in Cameroon. I have to manage this one. We plan destroying the whole building so another one can be raised. We sought to know from an expert what may have provoked the incident.
Plusieurs choses peuvent causer l'effondrement d'un bâtiment. Nous avons
There are many reasons that can cause a building to collapse. Maybe the foundation is too weak, the building materials aren't strong enough, the workers made mistakes, or the load is heavier than expected.
Il peut y avoir aussi l'absence d'un bon élément dans la construction susceptible.
While waiting for the demolition of the house, occupants of the neighboring building say the scarcity of houses in Douala has forced them to stay, but they, however, express fear over a possible disaster that may occur.
Inhabitants of all the 13 subdivisions in the Mungu division of the Littoral region of the country are raising concerns over the poor quality of bread or baked goods served them by suppliers. According to them, this is as a result of the rise in prices of flour that is used in producing these breads. Our reporter Charles Ekume says the population are now calling on the Minister of Trade to ensure the prices of these products are regulated. His report.
There are complaints from inhabitants in all 13 subdivisions in the Mungu division of the Littoral region. Some inhabitants say all products made from flour, such as bread and cake, have lost quality. My child eats bread and is never satisfied because there is nothing in the bread. Bread has become very light. I used to buy 5 breads before, every day for household consumption, but now I buy up to 7 breads daily. My child of 5 in full bread, which costs 125 francs CFA and is never satisfied. How is that possible? The government needs to tell us what the problem is. In a bid to sort out the problem, some bakers in the Mungu division explain why the quality of baked products significantly continues to face a qualitative decline. The price of flour has increased from 14,500 francs CFA to 18,500 francs CFA, and according to information from retailers, they envisage to increase the prices up to 19,500 francs CFA. Moreover, butter, which previously cost 18,680 francs CFA, all this hike in prices has hampered the baking business, which has become a nightmare for bakers. Furthermore, these bakers are calling on the government to look into the hike of prices in flour and other products used for baking. Bakers are facing tough times, of which only the government, most precisely the Minister of Trade and Commerce, can provide adequate solutions to these problems. All that needs to be done is that the competent authorities need to find ways of reducing the price of flour because customers continue to complain about the quality of baked products. All that said, the population of the Mungu division continues to decry hardship due to a series of problems such as the COVID-19 pandemic, which has contributed to poverty. All they ask of the government is that their communities shouldn't be hunger-stricken.
The lifting up of COVID-19 lockdown measures across the world has provoked an increase in the price of shipping containers. Shipping containers from Europe, United States of America, and Asia to Africa has now doubled in terms of cost. Details will inform me, Armstrong Sander.
The continued easing of lockdown restrictions across the globe, combined with capacity constraints in other sectors, mean that charter hire rates for multipurpose and heavy lift fleets are expected to continue to rise from the current peak for the remainder of the year, according to Drewry's multipurpose shipping forecast. Prices to ship containers from Asia to the United States of America, Europe and Africa are rising at a historic pace as cargo owners beat up rates in a search for an ocean transportation capacity that shipping industry executives expect to remain tight for the rest of the year. The average price worldwide to ship a 40-foot container has more than quadrupled from a year ago to $80,399 as of July the 1st, 2021, according to the London-based Drewry Shipping Consultants Limited. The measure has surged 53.5% since the first week of May 2021. Listed prices to ship from China to major ports in Europe and the United States of America's west coast are closer to $12,000 according to Drewry's measure, and some companies say they are being charged $20,000 for last-minute agreements to get goods onto outbound vessels. Freight forwarders say the global trade has become the hottest restaurant. Shipping experts say the rising ocean rates are the result of COVID-19 disruptions across the supply chain, a disruption that triggered delays at ports and inland distribution networks as Western retailers and manufacturers rushed to restore inventories that were depleted during the COVID-19 pandemic. The rates started edging upward last summer as consumers' demand began rising with the end of lockdowns across the globe.
A builder has died after falling off from a broken plank at the construction site in Aqua Douala. The incident, which occurred this Wednesday, has been blamed on the recklessness of the contractor at the set construction site. Manjikan Gabriel was there. He compiled this report.
It was a Black Wednesday for workers at this construction site located in Aqua. The workers who returned to the construction site after several weeks off came to complete a section for their monies to be paid, but unfortunately it ended in a sad way. We just heard a very loud sound and we ran towards the zone. Where we started helping those who were trapped inside. Some were fractured and others wounded. According to an onlooker, the plank on which they were walking had soaked a lot of water and was weak. Reasons why it collapsed. Immediately they started walking. The deployment of the army rescue soldiers, gendarmes and police enabled a search to be done in the zone. A majority of the injured cases were rushed to the Lakentini hospital. Immediately they arrived, the began work on them.
Effectivement, nous avons reçu une première vague de 21 patients.
We had in the first group 21 victims, amongst them fractured cases, while the other victims were stable, showing no danger. The second group was brought, made up of 3 patients. One of the patients came already dead. A total of 26 patients were received at the Lakentini hospital, with one who died as a result of the injuries he sustained.
Over in the Recife northwest region of the country, healthcare delivery remains challenging in that part of the country following hostilities that continue, masterminded by belligerents of the armed conflicts, notably separatist fighters and the military. The health professional complain of facing enormous challenges in catering for visiting patients. Mustela took particular focus on a locality in the Recife Northwest region to compile this report.
From the outside, one cannot tell if this building is a health facility or it is not. Indications and labels are hidden for the safety of the health personnel working there and the patients who seek health care from the center. The lack of the basics for the center to function properly is leaving the over 4,000 inhabitants of Akumlam and beyond stranded.
We used to have only one glucometer. You will bear with me that if 2 patients come in shock, we will not be able to attend to them fast. And infrastructure-wise, the place is constructed, as we can see, but the rooms are limited. We have a population of 4,500, and if the place is being utilized well, you will bear with me that we will not be able to admit 10 patients in the rooms available. That means it is constructed but not enough.
Also, the over 4 years armed conflict in Anglophone Cameroon and the coronavirus pandemic added pressure on an already lacking healthcare delivery system where water and electricity are luxuries instead of being necessities.
What we really face here is light. Like now, if I want to do something like VS, I cannot do it because of the low voltage. Something like MP, I cannot do it. At times you do it with the strips, you come out negative, and then when you go to the microscope, you see that there's malaria. 2 months ago, I repaired this. And 1 week, I think it's 1 week today, the thing got bad. So we have a very big challenge. We need a safety tank, a water tank, and a pump, a machine that can pump the water into the tank. Then we supply the rest of the units.
Akumlam Integrated Health Center, like many public health facilities, have similar challenges. Shortage in staff, equipment and infrastructure, to name but these, are recurrent. Akumlam is one of the neighborhoods in Bamenda 2 subdivision, reputed for frequent gun battles between state forces and the non-state armed groups. This worsens the already difficult work environment, and healthcare providers are appealing for a rethink on the frequent barging in on them by both actors in the conflict. The health personnel are worried this scares many from accessing the health facility, and they may die of treatable ailments.
We come back in the Mungo division of the Little Wild region to talk about this land crisis or land squabble. The Kamwa family, that's in Melong subdivision, Mungo division of the Little Wild region, are protesting over the selling of their family land to an individual by a close relative without the knowledge of other family members. The widow of the deceased cries over the maltreatment of her in-law. The forces of law and order have intervened in order to bring the situation under control. Malak Glory has more. Malak Glory, who will be telling us about the land squabble in Melong, the Mungo division of the Little Wild region of the country, where a family, that's the Kamwa family, requiring the selling of the family land by one of the relatives to an unknown individual. She is equally noting that the widow of the deceased cries over maltreatment of her in-law, and forces of law and order have intervened in order to have the situation of the squabble under control. Her report.
They are at daggers drawn, threatening to deal with each other. They are members of same family. A widow laments over the seizure of her house after the decease of her husband. This is what provoked the protest. This building has been existing for 30 years now. My late husband and I went through difficult moments in order to raise this. Immediately my husband died, his elder brother forced me to hand him the keys to the house, saying the house belongs to him. The house was finally sold without my knowledge. The house has been demolished and a new building project launched on the site. With different placards, the different family members display their dissatisfaction. It is a family land, and it hurts, as even the buyer was warned by the neighbors that this is a family house. The owner left behind land documents. So if the land was sold, it was with complete documents. While the matter is being followed in court, the buyer, Mafupa Bernadette, has launched activities on the site. He admits that the land has been sold to him and any other family issue does not concern him. The court is yet to declare its verdict. In the meantime, the forces of law and order reduce the tension between family members.
On ne demande même pas qui était le propriétaire d'abord avant. Il s'est proclamé propriétaire pour vendre. Mais quand on vient présenter les papiers légalement, qu'on ne parte pas derrière.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has pledged that his country will support the Republic of Cameroon, that's President Paul Biya's government, to ensure Cameroon remains an indivisible nation amidst secession agitation. In a statement by Femi Adesina, the Nigeria's president's spokesperson, Muhammadu Buhari made the pledge while receiving President Paul Biya's special envoy, Felix Mbanyu, minister delegate in charge of cooperation with the Commonwealth. President Muhammadu Buhari noted that Nigeria and Cameroon share historic ties and common borders, which, according to him, make it imperative for the two countries to look out for each other's well-being. President Muhammadu Buhari also said in a statement, I quote, "You will have problems if your neighbors are not cultivated, and our relationship with Cameroon had been very clear since when I was in the middle of the needed support during a civil war." According to opposition by secessionists, stressing that it was in the interest of Nigeria to ensure that Cameroon is stable. In his remarks, Mr. Felix Mbanyu said to President Muhammadu Buhari was happy with the role Nigeria was playing in Africa, noting that the two neighbors and historical ties, but also common challenges like the Boko Haram hostilities. It should be noticed that Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari early 2017 ordered for the extradition of separatist leaders headed by Julius Isiko Ayuk Tabe, all in detention in Konengi, to Cameroon. And we still talk news out of the country, this time to note that the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, condemns in the strongest terms the surge of violence that has resulted in the deaths of civilians and appalling scenes of the looting of public and private property, destruction of infrastructure, including the suspension of essential services in KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, and other parts of South Africa. The chairperson extends his deepest condolences to the families of the victims and wishes a rapid and full recovery to the wounded. The chairperson calls for an urgent restoration of order, peace, and stability in the country in full respect of the rule of law. He stresses that failure to do so can have grave impacts not only in the country but the region as a whole. The chairperson reiterates the full and unwavering solidarity of the African Union Commission with the governments and people of South Africa. That's it for the first part of this newscast. Up next, Talking Point. Good evening once again. You're welcome to Talking Point. We're having as guest this Wednesday, Mba Raoul. Is a political actor, member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, and is president of the Youth Wing Northwest Region. Good evening and welcome, Mba Raoul.
Good evening, sir. Innocent, good evening to the millions of televiewers of Equinoxe television, especially my brothers and sisters from Northwest and Southwest, most especially to those of my other brothers in Kuningi Central Prison, especially Penterence, Mancho, BBC. All those, I want to extend my greeting to them that they should remain strong, and soon the sun will rise and shine over our beloved nation.
But Raoul, you are from the restive northwest region of the country. We've heard several government ministers, Mr. Paul Tanganji, that's the Minister of Territorial Administration, noting on several occasions that calm is returning, everything is under control, the security situation. You're from the northwest region. Tell us, is everything under control?
Sir, Innocent, as it would be a bad thing to dishonest to tell you that there is calm, because I want to expect that if you have the whole part of your body, if your hands have a problem, then all part of your body has a problem. If there is calm in Ndonga Mantum division, that does not mean there is calm in Momo. If there is calm in my 3, Baminda 3, that does not mean there is calm in my 90. So I think there is a problem. So if talking about calm, I'm not sure that there is a calm. So we need to really be honest to ourselves, if we are politicians, to save the lives and millions of our brothers that are dying on a daily basis, because it's so appalling. Each day, a day will not pass without a gunshot. So you can't tell us that there is everything is coming in order. So I don't think so.
Why are you crushing the minister's statements that everything is under control?
I don't think most of those ministers stay in Northwest. They all lives in Yaoundé, going back to the ground, they put on the armor car. What happened to the death of Simon Achirachu? We saw some of the ministers putting on arms on their body. They go down on ground. So if actually there was calm in Northwest, they could just drive safely. But we saw most of them reaching at, they have to stop by in the West region, where the governor of the West region has to caution them, to tell them to be careful going to that area. So when you say there is calm and everything under control, I said it is a big lie, because on daily basis, gunshot, on daily basis, people, you get homes that have been destroyed. On daily basis, millions of our properties are being destroyed there in Northwest. So it is appalling to say.
People could be seen moving about, going about their activities. They see ease, there's life. It means everything is fine.
Mr. Innocent,
how do you receive someone maybe who is living in a different region?
Mr. Innocent, as you cannot live from my 90, let's say you are going to Batibo, without putting God first, because it is not easy in that area. The activities that are going on is mostly in major towns, like in Bamenda Central Town. From my 6 upward to Bambali, the case is different. From my 90 going to Bali, the case is different. So I don't know how the minister will sit and tell lies to the population that there is peace and normalcy in the restricted region.
You say the minister is telling lies, whereas he has delegates spotted all over who gave him feedback.
To be very honest, this is not the
mostly
moment,
in the interior parts of
the moment for us to play political games. We don't play political games with the lives of individuals for political interests. If people are dying, it is better you tell the world that people are dying. Because saying that is because the government of this country don't want to humble himself to tell the world that there is a problem. What kills this regime and has made the crisis to be where we are today is pride. It is pride. So the government must be able to go down on his knees, ask for apology to the population, to those that they have been affected, release those even in jail, ask for apology, compensate them. So I think on that point, I see the government to be responsible.
Asking for apology from civilians. They include the civilians. Separatist fighters are included. So do you think because of pride, they will go down to beg separatist fighters? Those who have picked up arms against the government, who has to beg?
Those that picked up arms is because they were pushed to pick up the arms. I quite remember in 2016, back then I was in Batibo. Those people came but just with simple peace plan to demand for their cup their mind. And I myself, I was among, I will not exclude myself from there. I was among those that marched from my place, from Basic right to Guzang, to tell even the fund that please, you are our traditional leader. Please, can you plead, help us to beg the leader, the government of this country that there is a problem, adjust it. But at the end, the government had to use live bullets.
But even if the people have been pushed to the world and they've picked up arms against the government, why do you think that begging or going down on the knees, asking for forgiveness, stating what you said, that the government should go down on its knees and beg or forgiveness from the civilians, including the separatist fighters, because they are also civilians. Why are you using that as a measure? Because I have the impression you are using it as a solution to the crisis rather than a dialogue.
First of all, self-defense is a fundamental right. Self-defense. But if we are today,
we need civilians to get armed against the state?
It's not against the state. I cannot imagine, for example, I myself, my uncle was shot just because he went on the ground to tell Cameroonians, to tell the military that where you are, they are not who you suspect to be the Amber. But at that moment, he was shot and dumped at the cliff in Tibet village. So what happened to that? What about the son? What impression would the son grow up to have? So if we are today, it's because the government has pushed those civilians to be where we are today.
Okay, you talk of continuous hostilities and killings, as well as abductions, tortures, and so on. The security situation control. You, as a member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement's political party, you, the president of the youth wing of the CRM. Tell us, the CRM party seems to be dead in the Recife Northwest region. We did not feel the CRM during the 2018.
The courage and integrity to render political activities in Northwest. Because the party was being planted in 2016 in Northwest region. So we have been working on the ground, and the party is being planted in all the subdivisions in Northwest. Capacity, political principle has been priority of the CRM, but we cannot be talking about political activities with the millions and thousands of our brothers in exile and those in jail and those that have been killed. So it will be very bad and weak to be very bad for someone to go and be talking about rendering political activities. That is not the case. That does not mean CRM is not operational in Northwest and Southwest. We have other activities like humanitarian activity. These are things that we can do to the population.
And tell me, how do you go about these humanitarian activities? How do you meet the suffering people amidst tensions, gunshots?
We have our various representatives in all the 7 regions. So if there is because the CRM is well structured to help the population in Dongamantum, we send it through our representative, because that is someone that master the terrain. If there is help that we want to render to people in the Momo, we send it to our representative in that area. Okay. So that is how we render our humanitarian instant. Like, for example, during the outbreak, I was there in the University of Bambali to distribute face masks. I was equally in Polytech to distribute face masks, which is something that is, and said, oh, the government has 300 francs, but it was under the umbrella of the CRM.
You said that going about political activities, it becomes very complicated. Like I cited the case of the 2018 presidential election, while you were inactive. You talk about a situation that served as a threat to the functioning of the CRM, the Northwest region. But the government had said they have put in place military dispositions, military all over, who ensure the security of all political parties who were taking part in the election. But how come you still could not show up, to be popular?
No, let the environment be clear. We can be able to render our activity, but not as if we have our official, we don't move from door to door doing political activity. That is what I'm saying. That does not mean CRM is not existing in Northwest or Southwest. We have our web page, the CRM Northwest. For those who think they want to join it, they willfully go take the number from the website and contact us, those that want to get their membership card. But we cannot be talking about politics while people are dying. So it becomes appalling to be rendering or playing political game for the interest of lives of our individuals, those even in jail. Let this problem be solved, At that moment, that is why we of the CRM thought that it is good for us to withdraw ourselves from the parliament. We are not going for election because of the thousands of those people. We feel that pain. We feel that pain. We are coming out with a new initiative, newborn politician that will be able, not the people first, before thinking about themselves. That are some of these things that we have in mind. And that is why people would say CRM has been dormant, but we are working on ground. The fact that we are silent does not mean we are not working.
Okay. There are several politicians, mostly those of the SDF party. We have various MPs who have been kidnapped. There have been orders to resign from parliament. We also have the president, the national chairman, Nijon Frunzi of the SDF, who was as well kidnapped by gunmen. Did these actually serve as fear to the CRM, the Northwest region, from being effective in their operations?
Well, Mr. Innocent, I would think that...
Did you panic?
Why will I panic if I'm there to save a genuine interest? Some of those things are interests. Because it will be bad for someone talking about politics to that person, talking about joining a political party, whereas that person must have lost his mom, whereas that person must have lost his dad, so it becomes bad. So if I'm in Northwest, what I have to do is I render humanitarian services to the population. Those are things that the people want at this particular moment. Create educative program for the youth.
When are you trying to say is the CRM Northwest is becoming more of a humanitarian organization, something like that, if I can put it? It has no political agenda anymore?
We have at the level of the political agenda, the Anglophone problem has always been CRM top priority. So, which means that it was something that we could even resolve it at the level of the regional. But now this problem has become a national and international problem, which means that it is not within our capacity